When the New York Times ran a 4,000-word front page piece in 2015 confirming the findings in my book, Clinton Cash, about Uranium One, everybody went after them. And the New York Times stopped covering the issue, even though in the 4,000 words, they confirmed everything. There were no corrections to that article. There's certain subjects they simply don't want to cover because politically it's too difficult for them to do it because of what their own political interests are.
So without a fair and so I would say I just want a semi-balanced media out there. We can't really, in this day and age right now, fight. I mean, I guess the only way we can fight back is by creating our own media resources and getting the information out there to the American people, kind of the old-fashioned way, around the government, because it feels like the news sources that I used to trust. I mean, look, I became a journalist because I loved what the Washington Post did. I loved the old work of the New York Times, what I knew about it. Once I became more educated and I learned more, I'm like, yeah, maybe they weren't so balanced all throughout history, right? There was a lot of stuff that happened. But overall, I really believe in our First Amendment. And when we don't have that, Peter, when we don't have the ability to give the American people the truth, and we're riding blind in a democracy that is literally heading towards a cliff. A cliff.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It scares me to death.
It should. Look, we need to have sources of information that we generally agree sort of reflects the reality. I was a subscriber for 25 years to the New York Times. Mm-hmm. And finally, in 2020, I just couldn't take it anymore because it was no longer reporting. And I know the reporting was biased and liberal, but they were actually reporting on events. They had moved so much in the direction of media analysis. We're going to give you our analysis of what's going on. I don't want your analysis. Tell me what the facts are that we seem to know. We don't have that source of information anymore. So alternative sources are needed and are necessary. And I'm kind of optimistic on this point, Sarah, because think about this. If you are somebody who relies on the New York Times for the sources of information about politics and national events, you had really no idea who Hunter Biden was through the 2020 election.
Right.
All you knew was that he was his son. And yet all the reporting that I'd started doing in 2018, you did more reporting on it. Then you had the Hunter Biden laptop. All of that was ignored by the New York Times. And then lo and behold, the New York Times acknowledges in early 2022, oh, yeah, okay, maybe the laptop is real. Oh, okay, maybe Hunter Biden did do these deals in China. You've got to be very angry as a New York Times reporter, even if you're liberal, because you'd at least like to know what's going on.
Right.
And to pretend like this is not a story really damaged the credibility of the New York Times. And I think they're paying a price for that.
Well, I've always said, there used to be a time where we could discuss, where we could talk between Democrats and Republicans and independents and have common discourse that would lead to some kind of resolution. That's what America's about. We're not supposed to be hating each other, but we're also watching. And I think you see a lot of independents worried about the same. You see Democrats now worried and concerned about this same issue, that we see our nation swaying towards this kind of fascist, totalitarian ideology where people can be ostracized for their ideas, where there's no longer free discourse among our people to speak freely. And that scares me. That really scares me, Peter.